What up, my little boo-boo patooties? We're here for our midweek alchemy message, where we go deeper into this week's lessons and we unpack the process. And on Instagram, if you follow me there at Liz_Taylor_Magick, Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the afternoon, midday afternoon, I put a post up of our readings. We do our Monday's anchor message, we do Wednesday's alchemy message, and we do Friday's weekend message on Instagram. So if you want a head start to the message, I would say go follow me there, and you can read the blog, already be reflecting on it, and then by the time we do the video together, you will have thought about more things, more dimensions will come out for you, and then there may be aspects of the reading that I don't remember to talk about on camera that I did write earlier. So that's there if you did not know that. And I mentioned that specifically because tonight, this is very helpful. Somebody, I noticed, I happened to check my notifications when I got home from work, and someone had asked a really good question about today's post. So it's perfect because I saw it before we started the video. So I was like, oh my gosh, well, tune in and I will answer and we will talk about this question in the video. So I will start by presenting the cards because that will give you some context. And then I will tell you the question that was asked by the member of our community. And then I think that's the best way to approach the reading. We'll just start answering that question, and I will actually read from the book for these oracle cards because I think that they will give you an even more abstract, broad, poetic seed planted where it might prompt different layers of understanding in you. Okay. With no more further ado or cryptic nonsense, let's get into it. Okay, so from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, we've pulled Lac Virginis, or the Virgin's Milk, followed by Argentinum, or silver, and then followed by Uranus, Uranus. I don't like it when people say Uranus. I say Uranus. Uranus, haha. Because then I always thought that Uranus just sounds like urine. So I don't know why we're trying to avoid saying Uranus when we're just going around saying urine. I'm a child. Okay, and then underneath the Virgin's Milk, we've got Eight of Cups. It's like that little card. Ta-da, ta-da-da, just going on a little adventure. Underneath silver, we've got Ten of Wands. Love this depiction of Ten of Wands with all the flowers on her back. Isn't it funny how when we are overburdening ourselves, we try to dress it up and justify it and make it look so great that we're martyring ourselves, Oh, I've done everything for everyone and I've been everything to everyone, and isn't it great? Such a people pleaser. I'm carrying all these beautiful burdens, breaking my back. Oh, I got this. It's okay, I got this. I'm fine. And then Uranus. Underneath Uranus, we've got Page of Swords underneath Uranus. I'm going to keep on with this. I'm going to just beat this dead horse. Full commitment to this stupid joke. Okay, so underneath, yes, we've got Page of Swords. Okay, so the general message or feeling that I was getting from this reading, if I had to synopsize it without going into details, is that there's something that we like in our mind and like in our mood and on the surface level, we are so over it. We're so over like sifting through, trying to find like anything more to heal or to like search for like subconscious influences. Like there's something and we're just like over it. We want to be done with it. We want to move on. But we would be spiritually bypassing the situation because there's still something in our subconscious that even though we think that we're over this thing, in our mind, we're over it, right? In our mood, we're over it. Maybe even in our heart, we're over it. But the subconscious is not over it. And it's not necessarily that there's an emotional attachment with the subconscious, but it's that subconscious that you really have to get into and directly like reprogram it, because it's like the hard drive. So it's like your subconscious is like your operating system that you install on your hard drive. And so there's something that is left probably from a distant past. And that, I mean, maybe that's not guaranteed. Maybe there has been something in recent years, right, that has left something in the subconscious, right? Either way, think of it this way. There's like this virus in the hard drive that's causing our operating system to not run to its fullest potential. And so it's slowing down our processor. And it's making us a weaker, less powerful computer. Oh my God, we're becoming the robots. Like I can't even like relate this like as a human being where I'm like, and we are now computers with a hard drive. Okay. So something that is influencing our perceptions in maybe a very subtle way that we're not even thinking about it. And so the question was, she asked, how do I know what this thing is that I'm not supposed to move on from? Like, how do I know what it is that I'm not supposed to be moving on from? And I wanted to clarify that it's not to say that you need to hold on to this wound and not get over it, or not move on, move forward from, not accepting what happened or the pain or whatever. But it's like there's something that we in our logical mind feel like there's nothing left to learn from that situation, or we're just so bored with it that we don't have the desire to go in and deal with it anymore, and we want to move on. We just want to be done with it, over with it. But I think that if we move on too quickly and we're just done with it, then what's going to happen is that virus in the operating system is still going to be there. And so that even though we're muscling through and we're just going to go on and get over it and move forward, it may be quiet at first and it may seem benign, but eventually that lingering belief or subconscious patterning or conditioning is going to start wreaking havoc and causing problems and maybe even chaos. So you may have to pray for the Creator to present this specific memory to you, or this circumstance, or maybe a long-term exposure to a condition that just got into your head and it left you operating in a certain way and you don't have to anymore. So, for instance, whenever, like in the To Be Magnetic workshops, a bunch of them have you go back and do inner child healing. And there are journal prompts and things that take you through your childhood, and you have to answer certain questions, and it gets pretty involved. And it's like, kind of like a lot of work. And I don't know if any of you have ever done like the deep inner child work, but it's heavy stuff. And it takes a long time, and it takes start cycling through it again and again. And so eventually you just sort of like I am bored to tears with myself. I am so over my trauma. Like I can't even with it anymore. I can't sift through this any longer. I can't do it again. I'm so bored with my my family's dysfunction. I'm just ready to be done with it. Like, I forgive my mother already. I don't even want to think about it anymore. Right? But like, there might still be something that we believe about ourselves that we don't realize that's holding us back, just because like we're like, oh, everything's good enough, but there's still that thing that's still been swept under the rug that's going to be there, festering. And so it may not be an easy thing to pick out. It may not be very obvious at all. So it's going to be different for everyone. But I do have a feeling that it definitely has to do with inner child healing, and it could connect with mother and father healing, because those cards have been coming up in different readings and from different decks. And so as we go further into like talking about the cards, I will explain why I think they're mother father healing. Another example. So something more recent. In my last serious relationship, right? That ended a couple of years ago. And I was pretty ready for the ending to happen when it did. And so there wasn't like, I felt like fairly present during the relationship, and I was very aware of what the problems were and what I had problems with. And so after we broke up, it wasn't like there was a lot of, like, there was soul searching, but I wasn't like totally in the dark or confused about like what was going on, what did it all mean, why did it all happen? It was like I knew exactly, like it was very plain as day. So it would be very tempting to spiritually bypass and just move forward and start up something again. And blame it all on my ex and not do the work. But I didn't. And so instead I've gone, deep into the work, but even still, I haven't thought tons about our relationship. I have, and I've taken things from it, but like if I glaze over it too fast, there might be something that he did or said that like I allowed myself to stay in that situation for too long, and then it left maybe like a ding in my self-worth or a belief about myself that I don't realize, right? And that might be creating a situation where I'm attracting like a similar pattern of person back again, because I don't feel so heartbroken that I lost him that I'm like, oh, I've got to get to the bottom of like what happened to this. It's like I was just like, all right, well, cool. Didn't work out, moving on. But it's like, no, slow down, go back. There are things there to unpack. So that's two examples, parent stuff, relationship stuff. Going back through like my career change, even the things that burnt me out in production, the things that grinded my gears about the dynamics with people, and different things about that soured me for that industry. Not leaving that there, even though it's like I don't miss it, and I'm making changes to try to get over those pitfalls or whatever even now. But maybe not moving on too fast and thinking like, oh, it's all figured out, I can just go on now and be done with that because I'm in my new situation. I'm working on my personality stuff and it's all taken care of, so I don't have to think about the past. But like maybe there's still things, valuable lessons that I haven't tapped into that I still need to think about before I move forward, right? I don't need to leave anything in the past that's valuable. I need to bring all my valuables with me, all the lessons. And I don't want to go forward like in a new cycle without like cleaning my hard drive and updating my operating system, essentially. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to read from the book Virgin's Milk, because there is something about So like these two together, it's like we want to be done with the situation and we want to move on to something more fulfilling. 8 of Cups is moving on to a more fulfilling situation. Moving on, like changing careers to something that's more meaningful to you. Moving forward into deeper, more meaningful relationships. You know, this is like moving on from the past, like being over it, being ready to move on and to something more. You want something more for yourself. But the lack Virginis is a situation where you're not fully prepared, even though you find yourself kind of out of your depth. And so I'm going to read this card as you gaze at these cards, looking at the imagery and thinking about it. Okay. Virgin's milk, innocence, naivete, purity. In alchemy, lac virginis is a mystical substance, supposedly coming from the virgin's breast. The alchemist asks, how can it be? How can milk come from one not carrying a child? That is precisely the nuanced teaching of lac virginis. When studied as an alchemical concept, it points to a lack of awareness or experience that the alchemist would rather not reveal. Yes, this milky substance is a symbol of purity and innocence, but its shadowed side is naivete and even denial. So I'm going to go back and read that again. When studied as an alchemical concept, the virgin's milk points to a lack of awareness or experience that the alchemist would rather not reveal. Now, when we're talking about revealing light, this is like when we reveal like something inside of us that we were unaware of, right? This is the full moon is coming up tomorrow, right? This is the revelation of the fullness of the illumination, right? Something coming up that is going to be revealed. So many messages about things coming into light on this particular full moon makes me wonder. But I think that too, if we're not only finding out information in our outer world, maybe things coming into light, I think that there's definitely things within our subconscious that are going to be presenting themselves during this full moon. So you can pray and ask the Creator to help show you what it is that you're not quite done with yet, that you need to go back. It's not that you're not supposed to get over it and you're not supposed to move on. It's just that you're not finished getting over it and moving on yet. That's a better way to say it. There's still something there to be learned or to be revealed to you. Something valuable and beneficial to your development and to your growth. In order for you to really move on and get the fulfillment that you're seeking, it's like there's something still that still wants to be revealed to you. The alchemist would rather not reveal. Yes, this milky substance is a symbol of purity and innocence, but its shadowed side is naivete and even denial. When the virgin's milk appears, discernment and honesty must be applied to the work. Is something being glossed over or rushed or presented as perfect? So is something being glossed over, like we said, swept under the rug, like, oh, I'm over that. Like that was all very straightforward. I don't need to go back and look into that even deeper. Like, I don't need to look deeper into that. We do no reason to like bring all this up again. Like, don't gloss over. Something is there. Something is there to be learned. Don't rush your process. And then you don't have to present anything as perfect. But there was something there that stood out. Oh, the denial. So there have been several cards coming up recently in our daily readings and other readings that have been talking about, and I think maybe even in the new moon. The new moon workshop talked about not, you're being delusional about something, right? So something that may come up that is revealed to us is how we may have been deluding ourselves about an issue, or we haven't been realistic about something, or maybe we've been in denial. But yes, so I think we're going to have more clarity tomorrow, but you can pray for guidance in your dreams. You can pay attention to the things that have been triggering you recently and following those triggers back to see if they remind you of anything familiar from the past, or if you go deeper into how that trigger makes you feel and why and what it's really about, it might reveal some things. But I think that like the triggers that have been coming up recently have been very on brand for like a couple of major things that are like core wounds or core experiences or memories for each of us in our own way. They've been, I don't think it's been spread out over like all kinds of random things. I feel like our work has really been honed in recently on a couple of issues. So what's been going on recently in the last couple of months? What have your triggers been bringing up in you? Have they been kind of consistent? Have they been sort of like on brand, like, oh, this thing is the thing I've been working on, for the last couple of months, and oh, it's driving me insane, or I feel like I'm getting, a little bit of progress here, or, what have you. So something does not want to be rushed or glossed over or presented as perfect. There are likely complexities that need to be addressed so the alchemist can gain the maturity to handle what's next. So again, this is something that this lesson, not only do we not want the virus on the hard drive to like taint what's up next for us, but there's something in this that's going to be powerful, and it's going to become a tool in our toolbox that's going to help us be even more equipped for this next stage of the journey, for this next cycle, right? For because even when we up level, we're only up leveling into new challenges. It's not like we up level and all of a sudden everything's like easy breezy and oh my god, it's like I'm in Barbie world, everything's perfect, just floating into place, and none of my food counts. Like, it's like you're just up leveling and it never feels like you're there. It just feels like you're back to like the bottom again, and you're out of your depth all over again. As soon as you get comfortable with where you're at and then you up level, it's like you're just on the bottom again. So there's something valuable that you can take with you that's going to help you, that's going to be a tool in your tool belt. It's going to be wisdom. It's going to be, strength and discernment. Okay, and so I would also like to read Silver, because this is about reflecting and things being mirrored to us, but it also is connected to the moon. And so the moon chakra, like the sacral chakra, has been coming up a lot recently. The moon, things associated with that. The full moon's tomorrow, but the moon is also associated with the subconscious, right? So another, like with the subconscious and your Uranus is the planet of innovation, revelation leading to revolution, like big change, big like innovation and ideas and new perspectives. After reflection, right? A change in outlook. So lunar, reflective, chrome. Amidst its upper echelon status, Silver shines eternally in second position. It is the lesser sibling, the one that is not quite there yet, second to gold, which is interesting too, because in Kabbalah, we human beings are compared to the moon. We are the moon. We have no light of our own. We're simply a vessel that reflects the light of the Creator, or the moon reflects the light of the sun. We don't have our full light all the time. Sometimes it's concealed. Sometimes it's revealed, but it's gradually, and it's in cycles, right? And it goes from light and darkness, and we fluctuate. the light from the sun is unwavering, it's eternal, it's ever flowing, and it's generated from a power within it, whereas the moon has to look outside of itself for the light. Well, we are a reflection of the light of the Creator, and we get our light from the Creator. The Creator, the light of the Creator, is what gives us life and animation and consciousness. So we want to have affinity with the light of the Creator. And so instead of looking outside of us for light from others, from other empty vessels, we turn inward like the sun, and we connect with that light, that eternal light from the Creator, to build us up, or we're learning to. So that's another thing to compare it with the silver. It's like the lesser of the two. It's not gold. It's second to gold. It's still precious, but it takes work. It takes polishing. Now, silver and gold go hand in hand, right? They both have their value, but gold stays brilliant on its own, and silver needs work, just like we do, right? The work's not over. We need to maintain and keep our vessel polished. It is the lesser sibling, the one that is not quite there yet. A true alchemist does not resist this truth, but rather studies its subtle implications and its wisdom. Silver requires polishing, or the surface tarnishes over time. Mirrors require cleaning, or the image clouds and distorts. Right? So it's like something is clouding and distorting our perceptions. And like another example, did you live in long-term poverty? Did you ever live in long-term anxiety? Or like one of the coaches that I follow, he was doing a webinar today, and he was talking about chronic low-grade pain, like suffering. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what's been coming up in the reading the last few days. It's talking about this like low-grade malaise, or like a pain we don't even notice that's actually affecting us, that we're just so used to, that we're just like, we don't even notice it anymore. So we have to go in and like find this trigger. We have to go hunting for it. But yeah, he was talking about wanting the pain of he's a dating coach. So he was talking about the pain of like wanting a meaningful relationship for long term, and like not having that satisfied is like, it's sort of like this low level pain that you kind of live with. It's like this longing and desire that's unmet and unfulfilled. And it's something you live with, but it does kind of affect everything. It kind of puts a cloud on, things in life where you feel like you would feel so much more fulfilled, and so you just get used to this low level pain just being there, but it actually does affect everything, right? So there's something that's like lingering, that's getting into the perception, right? And it needs to be polished. It needs to be purified. Okay, so alchemist does not resist the truth, but rather studies its subtle implications and its wisdom. Silver requires polishing, or the surface tarnishes over time. Mirrors require cleaning, or the image clouds and distorts. Whereas gold sustains its own malleable radiance, silver asks for our participation. We must work at it. Don't give up now. Silver wants to build relationships. Like the moon, a mirror or a poem, let it reflect an image back. With an open heart and one more moment of willingness, the seemingly cold, stark surface of silver opens up into the imaginal realm. What is there? Your own vastness? The mysteries that beckon you on a moonlit night? Through our daily devotion to silver, we find the truest gold. So urging us to stay in our practice and not giving up, something is worth polishing here. Silver is mirror-like, cold and dense. How do these qualities affect the surrounding cards in the reading? How does silver reflect on the others? So, we've been talking about that. Silver is known as the metal of the moon and the brain. And the brain is known as the silver organ. Therefore, meditation is key to unlocking this metal's secrets. Interesting, you got to keep your mind polished as well. Find a piece of silver and polish it by hand. I actually have a silver communion goblet, a vessel, and I think that's very symbolic to practice polishing the vessel, cleansing the vessel, preparing the vessel, the silver vessel. Silver is feminine. It's receiving. It's like receiving the light. Okay, and so silver, or this like perception that we need to get to the bottom of, was with Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands is the overcoming or breaking of a pattern, of a habit, of a subconscious belief. This is the end of a long, difficult situation that has not given you in return what you have put in. This card can depict, like in a practical way, it can depict like a business that just never, was profitable, or a career that just was too much trouble that wasn't worth it. For me, in the end, production work got to be like this. It was just more trouble than it was worth. It wasn't providing me enough. It wasn't giving me enough long-term value. It was just an experience, and I was over it. And it wasn't really giving me anything of any depth and meaning, right? So I had to, finally realize that this was the end. I'd gone as far as I could with it, right? The 10 is overkill of the 10, the wand suit. It's the 9s are completion. As far as numerically speaking, 1 through 9 is a complete cycle. 10 is the overflow. With 10 of Wands, it's a burdensome toil that's not worth it any longer. On a spiritual interpretation of this card, because the Wands are the spirit suit, this is about breaking a subconscious pattern or a habit or an addiction or something that has been holding on to you for so long. But it's been difficult, and it's been a burden, and it's been hard on you. It's taken its toll, and it's been difficult to overcome it too. But it's we are finally there. We've had enough. We can't do it anymore. So reflecting on patterns that are ready to be healed finally and moved beyond. And maybe that's why it's ever more important not to glaze over this, because this is maybe you go one last pass at it and you finally, eureka, it all makes sense, all comes together, and it's okay, I've really put this to rest. I can fully be done with my grief. Have you ever just been you're so upset about something, or you're so brokenhearted over something, or you're so pissed about something and you just can't let it go. You cannot get over it. There's something there that won't let go. That's what we're trying to mutually get around this thing at every angle, so it's finally finished, so it's finally complete, and so the grieving process can be completed, and then it's done, and then we can move forward. Uranus and the Page of Swords. Page of Swords is dedicated to improving himself. He has a lofty goal, and he's not going to give up, right? Sometimes the Page of Swords is so gung-ho that he's not even discerning about the methods that he takes to get there. It's stepping on everybody, all along the way, nothing's going to stop me. And that it's by any means necessary kind of attitude. So this page is determined, and he's not giving up. So don't be careful about how you approach this. It's not do it at all costs. That's usually the warning of the Page of Swords. It's the immature, impetuous nature, right? And I think that too, as we heal these wounds, and they could have to do, we kind of touched earlier, that they could touch on parent healing. It will help us get over our impetuous, impulsive, rash reactivity, reactive nature. Father healing particularly affects like how we act out and how we behave and how we present. This is the masculine energy. This is how we give, share, and an outer expression. The mother wound affects how we feel about ourselves and what we attract, what we feel like we're worth. So one of the father wounds that I have been discovering is that whole shiny object syndrome, right? Always like looking to the next thing, not really fully going all in on something and completing it. Getting, oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that too. Over piling up your plate with like things that you don't have enough time or bandwidth for. Or non-committal, being, non-committal. Oh, I don't want to like commit to this career, or I don't want to commit to this company. So maybe, this or that. I'm going to be avoidant. I don't want to commit to a relationship. One of the things that I was really excited about working, like starting my, like this restaurant job that I work at now. I've been there for a couple of years now. But in the production work as a freelancer, I was just around different people all the time, which is fun, which is great, but you're not forced to be around people that rub you the wrong way. So you get in a bubble of not having to tolerate anyone for too long. You don't have to have a lot of patience. It's like if they're not working out, then you don't have to recommend them ever again. You don't have to hire them again. Yeah, you see people every once in a while and you like work consistently, but you're not working all day, every day together for years at a time, and so that's a whole nother thing, right? Where you've got to stick it out with people and you've got to, be with people who aren't necessarily the easiest to get along with all the time. And you have to change yourself and you have to evolve to be more tolerant and more compassionate and more graceful, So it forces you to, like, that whole shiny object syndrome, like not wanting to commit to work or not wanting to commit to a workplace or a group of people, it's like, it was very non-committal in production. It's like, if I didn't like the show, it wouldn't last that long. Like, if I didn't like the people, it wouldn't matter, but it's different when you're locked in, right? So I'm going to read Uranus now. Okay. Awakening, brilliance, individualism. When Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise. Not in the outer world, but in ourselves, right? A eureka moment, a moment of revelation coming forward, right? And it catches us off guard. We're like, what is it? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing more work in? Like, I can't do any more child healing. Like, I don't want to think about my childhood bullies anymore. Like, I don't want to think about my long-term poverty or suffering. Like, what is it? What is it? Maybe it'll just like, boom, lightning strike. So when Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise. Not in the outer world, but in ourselves. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our preconceptions. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna keep running on into the next sentence. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. For an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long-awaited aha moment or a sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. Excuse me. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. Excuse me, sorry for the belching. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. And again, like shadow work has been coming up this week. And so reintegrating your shadow, there may have been an aspect in your early childhood where someone shamed you for an aspect of your personality or something that you were interested in and talented, and like you wanted to do that thing, and then they made you feel like you were weird, for it, and kind of made you ashamed. And so maybe you put that in your shadow, and it's something that, is actually part of your superpower, and it's something that's unique and quirky about you that you have to embrace. here's another example from my life. In second grade, it's a true story, y'all. I grew up in a very like evangelical, but not in like a negative way. It was like positive, like kind of Pentecostal, like people would spontaneously speak in tongues or have a prophecy or maybe just take off running through the aisles. It was one of those churches. And when I was very, very young, I guess a bunch of the people from our church had gone to some kind of revival where there was laying on hands and people would be knocked out and completely go unconscious. And so they were praying for people at my church, and somebody put their hand on my forehead, and I went down. I went like full out. I mean, I've always been like an open channel, so I'm very vulnerable to, you know, spiritual experiences and paranormal. So I went down like just like I don't know, I don't remember. It was blackout, and your whole body just goes weak and you pass out essentially. And after that, I was like, well, that was, I don't remember having like any deep feelings or reflections upon it. But I mean, as my child self, right, as the virgin's milk, I was just like, yeah, all right, well, now I guess I'll just go to school and do this for all my friends. And I was like, nothing, thought none of it, whatever. So I'm on the playground and I'm evangelizing to the children near the slide. And I start touching their foreheads and they start going out. And it's real. It's happening. And somehow I got reported. I think somebody went home and told their parents, is what it was, about what happened at school. And they're speaking the gospel. And of course the adults were like, oh, this can't be happening. This is inappropriate. And so I got in trouble for evangelizing on the playground and laying on hands and slaying people in the spirit. But then I was like mortified about it. And I was so cringe. I was like, oh my God, I have vulnerability hangover like a motherfucker. Like I am so shy. I was so shy already. I can't even believe I was like bold enough to do something like that. I was not outgoing. I was completely introverted, terrified, shy, like scared. I was like the easy target for the bullies. I had a bully best friend who would bully me. She was like, do you guys remember that movie The Good Son with like Macaulay Culkin? Elijah Wood, like that was me. So yeah, there may be something that you have in you that's a talent that was something you were embarrassed over, or that you were put in an awkward position about, or shamed for, or scolded or punished, and then you thought you had to get rid of it, right? So maybe that's something you need to reintegrate. So for an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long-awaited aha moment or a sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each and every day, whether or not Uranus strikes. So that's that inspiration feeling, like, oh my God, I feel so inspired, I'm so motivated. Uranus is aligned with the story of Prometheus, the god of fire. Consider this myth and relate it to your own story. In what instances have you been Prometheus-like? I don't remember the myth of Prometheus, or else I would synopsize it, but I don't remember it. And then, this is the part that I wanted to bring up. Don't get attached to Uranus energy. It can lead to a restlessness or a chasing of inspiration, always looking for the next best thing. take its medicine as an occasional blessing. So again, that father wound where we're chasing the shiny object, where we're non-committal, right? Don't let this be a perpetual state, right? Some people always want to stay in that Pentecostal inebriation that I was just talking about, right? That whole, wow, I've been to the revival and I'm on fire. And you know, and in life, it's like, oh, I want my Dionysic inebriation and I want to be drunk and high on life all the time. I want to feel lust for life. And I want to feel, you know, I want to feel like I'm sucking the bone marrow out of every moment. And it's like, we're not in that state all the time. It would be burning out, right? This lightning, it can't be sustainable. So we have to like appreciate those moments, but we can't expect them to be our norm, because then we would be spiritual alcoholics. I don't know if that's real. Okay. I think we are finished for the night. We've gone 45 minutes. There was a lot to say, a lot to cover, but I hope that answered the question that the woman had. I don't want to say her name. And yeah, I hope that cleared everything up for you guys too, if you were wondering the same thing. And if you don't read the posts and you just got to the video, then I hope that that was a very thorough reading for you. All right, y'all, let me know in the comments, you know, if you have any insights about what may be coming up for you that you are so ready to be over and done with, but you may need to circle back and revisit. I'm in the boat with you guys. I have to do some thinking about this and figuring out maybe what it is that I'm trying to rush through and not give its proper due. All right, I will see y'all for the next one. Ciao.